Hello, everybody. Welcome to my Media Masterclass. I'm just admitting a few more people. Hi, Michi. Nice to meet you. Hi, Ren. While we're waiting for people to arrive, if you could drop in the chat the sector that you work in and be quite specific about that, because it really helps me kind of guide, the advice I'm going to give you. So that would be really helpful if you could do that. About 20 people signed up, so I'm just going to wait a little bit longer to see if anybody else is joining us. I know a lot of people watch it on recording, which is a mistake because it's better to be live. You can't hear me. Aha. Okay. Audio.
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. That's good. Jean, can you hear me now? Because other people can hear me. That's strange. Ren, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you great.
That's great. That's great. No, because somebody has said they can't hear me. Okay. Well, I'm going to get started anyway, because it's just gone a minute past. So, welcome. My name's Marina Gask. I'm a journalist. I've been career coach. That's helpful. Thanks, Amici. Career coach for mid-level professionals. Great. Ren, healthcare, shaping policy. Open. Okay. If you were to narrow that down, Ren, what would
Oh,
what would that be?
training and teaching, systems and delivering individually. I can't narrow it down. I've got to narrow it down, haven't I?
It's really hard. I know it's really hard. Everyone's
Training and delivering open dialogue.
okay, but within healthcare. So you
Within
help
mental health care. Yeah.
help mental health care.
Yeah.
That's important. Uh, Jean is still saying she can't hear me. Yeah, leave and come back in. Good idea. Somebody else is asking to join. So I've been welcome. I've been a journalist for 37 years. And I've in the last 10 or so years, I've been coaching people on how to get their brand into the press, and how to do that. Because having worked on magazine teams, on newspaper teams, I've learnt, what it is that editors are looking for when it comes to experts, when it comes to case studies, stories. Um, it's wide ranging what they're looking for, and sometimes it can be hard to narrow it down. But today we're going to look at how to attach, what you do to what's happening in the world and make yourself relevant to the media. I hope that makes sense. I think it will once I start sharing the presentation. So here we go. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you can all see my screen. Is that yeah? Does that work? Good. Okay. So this is me. How to get you and your brand in the media spotlight. My name is Marina Gask. So the theme today is to identify what journalists need to make their job easier, and they will love you forever. This is probably not what you were expecting. You were probably expecting me to say, I'm going to help you get your story into the press. But actually, by identifying what journalists are looking for, you can become relevant to them again and again and again. Jean, can you hear me now? Fantastic. Marvelous. Okay. So onto the show. So I actually started out on teenage girls magazines. My first job was at just 17. I was editor of Sugar magazine. I was editor of More. There's me on Zig and Zag on The Big Breakfast. There's me interviewing Robbie Williams, just so you kind of get a flavour of where it all started. It was enormous fun, and I regret not a moment of it. But I did then go on to work on sort of more grown-up publications. I worked at Cosmopolitan and Glamour. I was editor of Top Sante, a health and beauty magazine. And just before you start thinking, oh God, she's a bit of a lightweight, she's all about boy bands. I did spend 2 years at the Telegraph, and I write regularly for newspapers. I'm a features writer, not a news writer. I often have to explain the distinction. And as a features writer, it's all about, the why and the how behind a story, where people's, human interest is needed, context is needed. So I don't write news, I write the kind of backstory, which means I'm always looking for people who can, mm, you know, give insight into a subject. There we go. So what are the top reasons to get into the press? Because I've met people many times who've said, "Oh, I don't want to be in a newspaper. I don't want to be in a magazine. Why would I want to do that?" And I get that. I get that, some people don't want to be, see their face splashed all over the media. But it does help you enormously if you want to, raise your profile. It boosts your credibility, positions you as an expert, a thought leader, someone who really has huge expertise. It raises your visibility among your potential clients. It also raises your visibility to the wider media. So sometimes appearing in a newspaper means that someone might contact you from radio or TV or for a podcast, so it kind of has a real snowball effect. And it also gives you shareable content. If it's digital, especially, it's really useful and you can share it again and again and again. So what makes you press-worthy? So a lot of things can make you press-worthy, such as insightful opinions on the zeitgeist. By zeitgeist, I mean what everyone is talking about right now. So I've just scribbled down some examples of what everyone's talking about right now, this week, today. So obviously current affairs, not just the war in the Middle East, but also standing up to a bully, for example, if we were to talk about Trump. So, that could be extrapolated into workplace, workplace behavior and guidance. Obviously, the war is having an effect on cost of living, on pensions, on redundancies, on the youth, hang on, somebody else wanting to be admitted. There we go. There other things that are happening in the world right now that we can spin out into stories that affect, that involve us, are things like culture, Louis Theroux and the manosphere, how that's affecting male mental health, how it's affecting female mental health. I've just written a report for Good Housekeeping that came out 2 days ago about women being harassed on sexual transport. This is having, the whole subject of the manosphere is having a huge effect on women as well, and behavior in the workplace. Other subjects that are big right now, there's a new series called Babies, which is all about baby loss. Heated rivalry is massive. I saw a really interesting story today about the fact that the Ice Hockey League have completely blown the marketing opportunity that they got from all these new potential fans by being negative about about female ice hockey players, basically about, so if you were a marketing expert, this would be a fantastic opportunity for you to talk about how not to blow your marketing opportunities. Other stories are, Scott Mills, for example, that's having a huge impact in terms of what what happens when you're cancelled, how all the celebrity friends who've stood up for him are affected. Then you could talk about what happens if, there's a big falling out within your friendship group, or somebody in your friendship group does something that you don't agree with. There's so many ways that we can use what's happening in the media. Legislation, for example, recently, I've given the example of changes to special educational needs education, but there's changes every week, especially when it comes to healthcare. And, there's so many different ways that you can link what you do to the news agenda. So that's just some examples from this week, but obviously it's something that you have to do constantly to keep on top of. Other things that make you press worthy are a powerful story that will move and inspire. Maybe you have a personal story of something that you have done or experienced that, that will really shed light on something that's of interest and that people want to know about. You may have unique expertise or a business that solves a new or a perennial problem. You may have an attention grabbing book or podcast or TED talk that that where you've stood up and stood for something, where you are on a mission to share a particular message or type of wisdom. You may have run a campaign, an event, or a survey, and if you haven't, I would say this is a really good way to get yourself into the media. If you are, if you work in a particular sector and you want to raise awareness of something that you know about, that could be huge in the media, running a survey or a campaign that you can then turn into a press release to send to the media is a fantastic way to make yourself suddenly relevant and make yourself position yourself as an expert. Think about timing as well. Is there something about you and your business that ties in with the annual calendar? So by that I mean, there's a whole calendar of national days of, whether it's Carers Week, whether it's neurodiversity, whether it's men's mental health. There are so many national days throughout the year. So familiarize yourself with the calendar, because the timing of when you send out a press release, we'll be talking about press releases shortly, it's always a good idea to tie in with a national day, or Christmas or summertime, or whatever is happening right now that is relevant to what you do. Having a micro niche is a really good idea. So I often say to people, don't just say you're a coach in your press release. Really niche down into what it is you do and for whom. So I'm just going to take a pause here, because a lot of people at this point are furrowing their brows and thinking, I'm not quite sure how my business would be relevant to the press. I can't quite see it just yet. And it does take a while to think in this way. So if you'd like a chat, scan the QR code and let's book a 15-minute call where I'll talk to you privately about your press hook, about what I think your press hook could be. And there may be multiple press hooks. So please take advantage of that opportunity, which, by the way, is tomorrow. I'm freeing up, I think, most of tomorrow to, I think there's 10 calls. Yeah, I'm only doing 10. You can, if you don't make the 10, you can join the wait list, and I'll make sure that you get a call soon. But I would recommend doing one of these calls, because it gives us some one-on-one time where I can really go through what I think would be good for you in terms of press. So there are 3 steps to getting yourself in the press. And one of them we've kind of already talked about, which is be your own PR executive, which means familiarize yourself with what's going on in the world, or what's going on in the UK, or what's going on in your sector, and how you can link yourself to it. You then create your pitch and your press release. We'll talk about that in a sec. And you prepare for your media interview. Preparation for media interviews is very important, because you want to be able to make sure that you stay on message. And it's quite tricky if you've never done it before. Being your own PR exec means doing what a lot of journalists do, which is get up early. Sorry if you hate getting up early, but it means getting up early and scanning the media. So, BBC News is just fine, or Channel 4 News, or, whichever news site you prefer, but find out what's going on in the world and instantly think to yourself, could I comment on that? Is my expertise relevant to that? Do I have something to say about this particular thing that's happened? Somebody divorcing, or somebody coming out and saying something outrageous, or new legislation, or celebrity story. I know they sound often trashy, but celebrity stories actually give fantastic opportunities to spread something out into something bigger, the wider impact of something. Can you offer opinion, wisdom, case studies? If you are somebody who works perhaps as a coach or a therapist, or a divorce coach or something like that, can you offer case studies? Because often when a journalist is writing a report on, say recently when I was writing the report on sexual harassment of women on public transport, I needed case studies. I was a case study myself, but I needed other case studies. So it's like, if I'm contacting you as an expert on this subject, apart from your opinion, can you actually provide me with people who will talk to me and who are happy to be identified. Are you available now? This is really important because people often will contact a journalist to say, hello, I'm an expert in this subject. I want to talk to you about it. And you'll contact them and they'll say, oh, I'm in Canada for 2 weeks on holiday. That's no good. That's no good. You must be available. Sorry, but you must, because otherwise they're just going to find somebody else straight away. So this is what I mean about providing the journalists with what they need exactly when they need it. How to create your pitch and your press release. So I'm sure you all know what press releases are. There is some debate as to whether or not press releases are still needed. I am firmly of the belief that they are, because they're a place where you talk about what your message is, but then you also summarize who you are, and it gives the journalist or editor what they need in a concise form, the information that they need, so that they can then decide whether to follow up. You need an attention-grabbing headline. Don't be afraid to be tabloidy about this. Don't think you have to be, all scholarly in your headline. You need to grab attention, and tabloidy is fine. Go for punchy, go for hard hitting. Start with a brief, punchy message that you want to share. This is in your press release, stating why this is relevant now. So if there's a new study that's found that, oh God, I wrote about this week. This is just an example, okay? I wrote about girls and autism, and an expert has come out and said that a lot of girls who have been diagnosed autistic are not autistic, and that, she no longer believes in the spectrum, and it's caused absolute consternation, as you can imagine. That's the kind of, study to link to your press release, to say, as blah, blah stated this week, blah, blah, blah. I profoundly disagree because blah, blah, or, I can shed light on this. Make your press release easy to skim read. Don't deliver huge blocks of text. Make it, bullet pointy, pull things out in bold. Design it a bit so that it's easy to read. Journalists don't have a lot of time. They're going to skim really quickly. Then before you send your press release, which you send in PDF form, before you send your press release to a journalist or editor, you need to write a short and persuasive pitch email that explains the angle and relevance of what you're about, what's in your press release. So this is like a paragraph. It's really short, and it's basically saying, I'm a top expert in blah, blah. I would love to talk to you about blah, blah, because it's relevant right now because of blah. And it's literally that. And then the press release goes into more detail. Okay. You may have heard of press kits. This is a digital pack which, includes all the information a journalist or editor might need. So it would be your bio, your headshot, product shots if you make products, a press release, and crucially your contact details and your social media title. I can never think of the name. What's the name? Your social media. Be prepared. That's really important, is to be prepared, respond quickly, and be readily available. So if you contact a journalist, don't wander off for the day. Keep an eye on your email. Be prepared, be ready, because they might just get back to you and say, yeah, can I have a quote, please, on the phone now. So you need to be ready. Preparing for your media interview. So do some research on the journalist and the publication. Don't just go, oh, a journalist contacted me from the Daily Mail. Fantastic, I'm going to speak to them. Great. No, have a good look. Have a good look at the kind of stuff the journalist writes, whether or not you're happy with speaking to that publication. It's a really good idea to request further information about the article. What is the premise of the article? Who else are they interviewing? They might not yet know, but they can at least say, well, the idea is we want to write a positive piece. It's important to know, is it going to be a positive piece or a negative piece? We're going to write a positive piece about girls and autism, for example. You need to know, is it going to be something that you're going to be happy to participate in? Make some notes before the interview. What are the key points that you want to make? You might think, oh, they're all in my head, it's fine, but you can get distracted, especially when somebody's asking you lots of nosy questions that you hadn't anticipated. So write them down beforehand. Make yourself ready. If you're mentioning anyone in your interview, for example, your daughter, your ex-husband, your ex-boss, you need to get permission because obviously there are laws about that kind of thing. So check that they're happy with you mentioning them. Get the contact details of the journalist. This is important because if you say something and you later think, no, actually, I'm not comfortable sharing that, you want to let them know. Or if there's something that's troubling you, or I don't know, you have a further question, you want to be able to get hold of them. And in the interview, be concise and say something new. So try and be a bit out there, come up with something that's really quotable. I know it's easier said than done, but that's why it's important to make notes, because then you've got some great points to make. So when you appear in the media, when you're quoted or your story appears in the media, you need to bang on about it. I'm always amazed that people don't do this more. I think they just think, oh God, I'm named in the media or I'm quoted in the media. Great, everyone's going to see me. Well, yeah, they are in that publication, but you need to bang on about it. You need to make a big deal of the fact that you've been quoted in the press. So share it to death. Thank the journalist online, liking and commenting on their posts. That's just good manners. And also it makes them think of you positively and think of interviewing you again. Don't be a stalker, but do keep them informed of your latest programs, books, TED Talks, whatever. Include an excerpt from the piece in your next press release, and add as seen in the Daily Mail or wherever to your email signature and website. I mean, that's up to you, but I think it's always a nice thing to do because it kind of says I'm seen as a credible expert in my field. We're nearly done if you're all fed up. So I do give personal coaching. So have a look at my website, which is marinagask.co.uk. And there's various packages there where I will work one-on-one with you on your press story and your press angle. But I'm also starting a boot camp in a couple of weeks' time, which is it's brand new, and therefore I'm doing it at a founder's rate, which is considerably lower than it's going to be in the future. And the deal is, that because it's my first one and I'm finding my feet, obviously there may be some it won't be a perfect slick operation, but also I will want your feedback, so that's what I'll be expecting in return for it being at the founders rate. It's a 6-week live program, so there's 4 weeks of live workshops. So we will work on all of the stuff that we've discussed today, but in much more depth, and we'll really dig into your story, your press angle. We'll write the press releases together. We'll write the pitches together. I will share with you contact details of journalists that I think will be interested in hearing from you. And having been a freelance journalist for all these years, I've got a lot of contacts, so if there's a particular publication you want to write for, I can help you find it. And then after the 4 weeks of live workshops, there's 2 weeks of accountability. So I will be available to you through a WhatsApp group, on email, so that you can get back to me and say, I sent out my press release, nobody responded. What do I need to change? And then we'll look at the headline, or we'll look at the angle, etc. And there'll be session recordings, and it starts on April the 14th. Doors are closing for anyone. I think there's 4 spots left. Doors are closing on the 6th of April. So if you're interested, please scan the QR code and have a look to see if this is, up your alley and you think it would be helpful to you. I would really recommend it though, because it's, there's a lot to take. We've covered a lot today, and this gives you the chance to explore it, at your pace and to really take it in and learn. So that's it. any questions, people? Any questions? Would anyone like to ask me anything? Have I covered everything? Go for it, Lee.
Yes. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think I can't do April and May this year because I've signed up for something else. Do you think you're going to be repeating?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yes.
This is the launch. So yes, I will be rolling it out
Awesome.
again.
And
I
how
don't
many
know
people?
I don't know when yet, but
Fair
probably
enough.
probably late summer.
Okay. And how many people do you envisage-ish being in a group?
So the first group is going to be 10, and
Okay.
I'm going to see how that goes because I want to keep it small so that I can really give everyone plenty of proper attention, and I'll see how that goes. But I imagine relatively small
Okay. Awesome. Thank you
because
very
it's
much.
really important that everybody gets the coaching and gets sort of the hands-on experience of because writing press releases, it's not something you can just do. You kind of have to
Mm.
have a few goes at it. Does anyone else? Thanks, Lisa.
Mar
Does anyone?
Marina,
Yes.
hi, it's Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Hi. My question is this, because I am an author, I'm not really wanting a lot of press coverage right now, but I want to learn about this.
Yes.
Is the boot camp right for me, or is that something you intend to have people go from boot camp to getting their press coverage, like as part of this?
I mean, I suppose the thing about doing the boot camp is um my doorbell's ringing and I'm just trying to ignore it because I don't think either of my sons are going to get out of bed to answer the door. Apologies if you can hear.
Can't hear it.
Apologies. Um, the thing is, I think when you do the boot camp, you want to be able to test it straight away. So, if you've spent a month working with me and, working on your press hook and perfecting your press release and so on and so on, you want to be able to act on that straight away. I think the danger of doing it and then parking it is you might not act on it, you know.
Right, right.
So I would honestly recommend doing it at the time. You know,
When I
when is the
want.
when is the book coming out, Jean?
Oh, honey, I've got tons of books out on Amazon already.
Oh wow,
So, yeah,
we're
I've got
honoured.
like 20 odd books out there
Oh
already.
wow.
Um, but, part of this isn't really about my authorship as more as I just have such a wealth of different experiences. I'm a full-time caregiver for my husband. I have a disability that's degenerative and genetic that is very rare. I'm ND3E, so I've got a different classification for that wonderful neurodiversity spectrum. But there's so many different things that I could tap into, and I really just don't want a lot of attention right now because I'm still writing and I'm still dealing with my husband. So
I mean,
that's where I'm
I,
at.
I would wait for a time because I am going to be doing these, you know, I don't know how frequently yet. To be honest, the marketing has been so exhausting. I'm going to
Yes.
have to G myself up to do it again, probably
Sounds
late.
like you need Lisa to help you out.
I do. I need a lot of people to help me out, but but I will definitely be doing this again. So I would just say wait for a point perhaps in your life when you've got a bit more,
Freedom.
bandwidth
Yeah,
and
yeah.
time to do it because otherwise you won't get the full benefit.
Okay. And I suppose if necessary or if needed in the future, if you're not going to be doing these, we can always perhaps work with you one on one.
I would say that would be a really good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Do connect with me. Have a look at the website. It's Marina.
Okay.
I've got to check what it is. marinagas.co.uk. It's a
Right.
relative.
Well, we are connected on LinkedIn. So,
We are. I have seen Eugene. Yes, thank
yes,
you. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Any more questions? Sandra, Amici, Ren, any questions?
Uh, do you have to be a natural writer, Marina, to pull
No,
this off?
no, no, you don't. Oh, Sandra, I remember meeting you.
Yeah.
I remember meeting you. No, you don't. No, I mean, obviously it helps if you're writing a press release, it helps if you can write, but it's more about, I mean, I will be teaching the style of writing for a press release, and I think that can be learnt. but you know, getting you into the media, it's the job of the journalist to be the good writer, not you. So, do you know what I mean? I mean, if you're, do you want to self-publish? Is that what you mean, or do
No,
you?
no, it's just I think you've answered my question. It's the style of writing. It's not that I can't write. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a great writer. It's not my job, but it's stuff that you read in the press generally has a particular style and a tone, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's their job. That's their
Yeah,
job. You
okay.
know, with approaching the press, it's just about delivering whatever message it is to tell them what you do. And I remember you, and you know, you have a fantastic story. So, you know, getting that down on a press release and coming up with a fantastic, you know, impactful headline, you know, which we can work, if you join the boot camp, you know, we can work on this and get it absolutely spot on, so that when you send it over, it doesn't matter, you know,
Okay.
that you're not the best writer in the world. It's more about, well, does it have impact? Does it really get across what is so amazing about you and why they need to speak to you right now?
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, yeah, just quickly. Really great to hear you, Marina. I loved what you said. It was, I've got two questions, I suppose. One is, I feel a lot of the time it's about, don't get involved in this unless you've got enough of a team around me to support me doing things at pace, because it can suddenly all kind of get quite congested. So yeah, I really want to do tomorrow, but I can't, unfortunately. So I might, yeah, and I suppose it's just, I just get the impression that we're going to be snowed under with so many things to do. And I feel that the number one thing is to get a team around us, isn't it? Do you feel that? Do you work alone completely?
Well, I work alone. I do have somebody who's helped me set this up, and who is fantastic, by the way. If anybody's starting a coaching program, Rochelle Dallas is fantastic.
Wow.
But no, I do all my marketing myself,
You do? Wow.
and you know, create the content myself. We all have to learn to do this, don't we? We're all entrepreneurs, and we have to sort of become, you know, multitaskers and have all these extra skills that we didn't know we needed. You know, for years I was just a journalist, and now I've become, you know, all these different things. But it can be
How
done.
much time do you allocate, I suppose, being specific, how much time do you allocate per week to get, you know, to do your marketing in this way?
To do my marketing,
Or to do
I
the
just get up early every morning. I just get up early every morning and spend about an hour on it every morning.
Okay.
At present, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I just think if you're marketing something that's really important, that you really need people to know about and sign up for, you have to put the work in. You really do. But any questions about media? About Amici? Is it Amechi or Amici?
Mechi.
Amechi. I've been saying your name wrong. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. We've only just met. It's okay.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Just a couple of quick points, I suppose, or observations from I've dabbled with PR
Yeah.
and media before with some very nice results at times,
Good.
and
Good.
also some learning experiences, as they say. I suppose the key one is I learned that there is a difference between marketing, which you tend to have direct control over and your planning, and PR. And I certainly put press release and media relationships into that PR basket.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Someone else is writing it, managing it, releasing it, shaping it. So I suppose my point is really just saying to people, be mindful of understanding what marketing is and what PR is, and
Yeah.
and keep them clean. Don't get them mixed up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. And also it's really important to understand that once you give an interview to a journalist, you don't have full control. You know, it is up to them how they use it, which is why it's really important to check the publication, to check the journalist, to understand the premise of the article. Do you know what I mean? You want to know what you're becoming involved with, and that the message that you're sharing is something you're 100% comfortable with. So, you know, well, I'm not a PR, I'm a press coach. It's slightly different. But, you know, I always advise people to prepare very thoroughly if they're, and also you can say no. You know, if a journalist approaches you and says, I want to interview you for this publication, you can say no if it doesn't feel right, or if the angle is something you're not comfortable with. And you know, some would argue, well, any PR is good PR, but, you know, you have to be able to sort of feel comfortable with it when it comes out. Any more questions?
Would you say when it's starting off, it's better to go for niche publications, which are kind of specific to your area? Like mine would be psychology and things connected with healthcare, rather than going straight for the big publications?
I would actually, yes, I would. And I think apart from anything else, to test the water, but also, you know, it can be quite hard to get. I mean, I'm not 100% clear on the kind of things that, you know, maybe we should have a press hook session so we can talk about that. But, you know, it can be quite hard to get the kind of content I think that you would be looking for into mainstream publications. It's, you know, it probably would involve case studies. It probably would involve hooking up with a particular piece of legislation or a statement made by someone in the health industry, or, you know, something like that. But yes, I would go for niche to start with. Another thing to consider is local. Are you interested in local press? You know, if you're well, Lisa, I know you're a fabulous branding and design expert. You know, it's like, do you want to appeal to people who live in your area of London more than people in general? Does it make a big difference? Do people in your area know about you? You know, so it's you know, getting yourself into local press can be actually really beneficial, especially if you're doing something new, if you're doing something different, or you're running a campaign. You know, if you're, you know, often people will do something like run a campaign to help local kids who, you know, want to get into their profession, for example. They'll give internships, and that's the kind of story that local media love, you know. So it's a good idea to look at local press, and not I mean, obviously you're reaching a smaller audience, but it's still worthwhile because, you know, people love to know that there's someone local that they can turn to for what you're offering.
Thanks.
Marina, just a quick one, just following on from that. So as part of the boot camp, did we go through that process of trying to figure out where best to
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
send it?
I think. I mean, for some people, the sky's the limit. Honestly, you know, you don't have to just think, oh, I'm only going to do local press, but you would pitch it differently. You would pitch it differently. Or if you're from somewhere, I know you're a Brummie, you know, if you're, you know, you could be contacting West Midlands Press and, you know, talking to them about something amazing that you're doing, and that you're a girl from, I can't remember where you're from, Solihull, Acox Green, wherever you're from, you know, that you do you know what I mean? Look, people will always love an entrepreneur done good from their area. And that's another angle.
Thank you.
But yes, we would explore the different options. Yeah, we would. Okay, guys. Well, it's been really lovely. Have I missed anyone out? I'm just checking the chat to see if anyone else has asked. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay.
I did ask a question, Marina.
Oh, you did,
I wanted to know about trade publications. Is that a good way to get into press?
To be honest, I'm a consumer journalist. That would not be something I could really comment on.
Okay.
You know, my background is entirely consumer journalism. I would say it is, but I wouldn't know where to start.
So as a journalist, you wouldn't really look at trade publications for people, right?
No.
Okay.
No. I write for.
That's a different kind of field, is it?
It really is. Yes, it really is. Yeah, I'm very much from a consumer consumer background, newspapers, magazines. I've not worked for trade press.
Right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd rather just be honest. I don't want to pretend
No,
I have
really.
the answer.
It's very good to know. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Oh, Ren.
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay. No, you're welcome. Thanks, everyone. It's been really lovely.
Great to meet you.
I'll be sending the recording out to you all and details of the boot camp if you're interested. It would be really lovely to see you in there. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marina.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.